Good morning, all. Good morning, all, and thank you for gathering here. I know it's an unusual assembly, but obviously a really important one. And you'll recall a few weeks ago when I was talking at the beginning of this athletic seasons, I talked broadly about the idea of celebrating each other and how what it means, I think, to be a Taft student is to celebrate the achievements of each other, because when you do that, that is reflected back on yourself. You were reminded that you're part of a really special place. I was talking specifically about games and what it means to be a fan, but it's no different than when we think about all the achievement that happens on this campus, whether it's the math team at the Harvard-MIT competition or robotics, or what happens on this stage, music and acting, or whether you see something in the studio and you see the great artwork. And that's part of what it is to be a Taft student, right? That's how we remind ourselves that being here and to be included in this community is to be part of something really special. And it's a rare and fortunate thing. And today, we celebrate scholarship. And nothing is more important here. We are, after all, an academic institution. And we prize the life of the mind as we should. We see intellectual engagement, and it happens in the classroom, it happens outside of the classroom, and it happens in debate and discussions all over the place. That's how we grow. And indeed, if you think about the portrait of the graduate, and for new students, the portrait of the graduate is a set of statements that we have, and they came from a faculty committee about 20 years ago, which affirm the skills and habits that we want you to have by the time you leave here. And indeed, this is important enough that I have it in my office. It reminds me of what we're trying to achieve, and we post it around the campus all over the place. So the portrait of the graduate is just that. It is a portrait of what we hope you will have by the time you leave here, the skills and habits. And the first sentence reads, at the very top of it, "A Taft education prepares its students in a community devoted to creating lifelong learners, thoughtful citizens, and caring people." That is the very first phrase you hear. The most important thing we try to do as a faculty is to create lifelong learners. And what does it look like to be a lifelong learner? You saw an example when Mr. Erlanger spoke last week. When we presented him the Citation of Merit, that is the highest award the school gives, and you listened to him speak, I thought we were given, in an absolutely beautiful and eloquent, moving way, what it is to be a lifelong learner. Not simply that he was a cum laude graduate from Taft and then a 5.8 from Harvard, but think about what he did in the course of that remarkable speech. He reflected honestly about his own growth, his own awareness of his own thinking, and I thought in a beautiful way, as he spoke about what it was to be a writer here and the editor of the Pap. He had references, if you may recall, to psychologist Freud during his talk. Also to Montaigne, the 16th century French Renaissance philosopher. He alluded to historical figures. You sensed his absolute hunger for learning in his travel to 120 countries. The fact that he was reporting on some of the great moments in the last 30 years in terms of revolutions, in terms of political upheaval. This is someone who never has lost. And indeed, I saw when I spoke to him more with his reunion with his classmates, you saw someone who is still learning today. And so that's what it looks like, I think, to be a lifelong learner. And so today is really about celebrating the life of the mind. And we'll recognize those students who are particularly distinguished in the ways in which they think and ways in which they engage the intellect. And in doing so, I think, improve the intellectual life of all of us. And so we'll start with Mrs. Kennerson, and then we'll end with the inductees to cum laude.
Thank you. So before we get to the cum laude recognition, we have a few other students to recognize. The following students received commendation from the National Merit Scholarship Program. With a selection index of 207 or above, these high performers have shown outstanding academic potential. Please stand when I read your name and come forward to receive your certificate. Samuel Blair, John Gavin Feller, Catherine Gilland, Sakiran Nandagama, Michael Roberts, and Gaden Romer. The following students were semifinalists in the 2002 National Merit Scholarship Program for their outstanding performance last year on the PSAT, finishing in the top 1% of all test takers. They are now eligible to apply to be National Merit finalists to win scholarship money. Their certificates will be coming in the springtime. Please stand as your name is called. William V. R. Roberts. Mercury Adeline Titterton. The following students were the ranking scholars at Taft for the 2020-2021 academic year with the highest unweighted averages in their classes. Please stand when I call your name. For the class of 2024, last year's lower mids with a 97.8 unweighted average, James Bo Sansing. For the class of 2023, last year's mids with a 96.2 unweighted average, Kendra Papanek. For the class of 2022, this last year's upper mids with a 97.25 unweighted average, William Roberts. Founded in 1908, the Cum Laude Society is the National Scholarship Society in secondary schools, corresponding to Phi Beta Kappa and Sigma Psi in colleges and scientific schools. A maximum of 20% of the senior class may be elected into this membership in the Cum Laude Society. This morning, we will induct 17 members of the class of 2022 who merit inclusion into the society based on their academic records for both their middle and upper middle years. At this spring's graduation, this first group will be joined by other seniors whose selection will be based on their records for their upper middle and senior years. The 17 students inducted this morning represent the top 10% of the class. Will those being inducted into the Cum Laude Society please come forward when I call your name? Whitney Farrar Bartol. Aiden Chi Ki Chan. Aiden William Sinell. Grace Maddock Denius. Carolina Liliana Gura. She's right here. Elias Benjamin Juvan. Grace Elizabeth Kenny. Kevin Leanne. Edward Yuki Liu. Gabriella Elaine Marquez Jones. Stephen Terry Mayer. Jin Young Min. Shuyao Pan. Catherine Pang. Michael Lars Roberts. William V. R. Roberts. Catherine Zhao.
I congratulate all those remarkable achievements. Really quite something, and I delight in the pride you have in each other, and to hear the applause for students who you know have done something really extraordinary, because you know how hard a school this is. So many thanks for your attention this morning. Congratulations to those on the